name is William Merrill. I'm the engineer for Rebuild Northwest Florida, and I'm here today to talk about garage doors and particularly the importance they play in protecting a home during a hurricane. At the heart of Rebuild's program is the desire to protect that building's envelope. We want the air to flow around the home and not into the home because the forces on the structure are much less when it flows around the house. If the wind enters, those pressures greatly increase and some real problems can occur. The garage door, being the largest opening on most homes, is the most vulnerable usually. Some of the reasons are: one, it's very large, it receives the most pressure. Statistically, it's the most likely opening to be impacted by debris, but there's some other reasons too. One of them is that the garage door is only attached to the frame of the house on two sides. Because it has to open and close, it has a track that's only connected, usually on the left and right side of the garage door, to the actual framing of the house. Because garage doors have to be opened and closed a lot, and when the power goes out, they have to be opened manually, manufacturers are required to make them relatively light. And those factors mean that a lot of engineering, a lot of testing, a lot of design has to go into a hurricane impact resistant light garage door. After a major storm event, building scientists, engineers, and other experts are usually sent out to evaluate damage, and they look at the types of damage, what caused the damage, and what we can do in the future to prevent that type of damage. What these post-hurricane evaluations have found is that garage door failure is a primary reason for structural failure. What usually happens is that the wind or maybe a piece of debris knocks the garage door in. The garage itself rapidly pressurizes. The air looks for the path of least resistance, which is usually up and through the drywall ceiling. It pressurizes the attic and blows out a piece of decking completely on the other side of the house. Now the structure is open to wind and rain, and as an open structure, it is going to have huge problems. And that's really the heart of why we want to protect this opening as much or more than any of it. Garage door manufacturers are making a wide variety of choices these days. There are all kinds of architectural styles. You can get insulated. You can also get garage doors with windows. One point about windows is they have a vulnerability if they're not impact rated. Most of your older garage door windows are not impact rated, and they're quite expensive, and that's something to really look out for. You can have a really great garage door that has windows that are vulnerable to all that debris. Some manufacturers make kits that you can pull the existing windows out and put solid panels back, or even put impact windows back in them. But you need to weigh the cost. I think the most common type garage door is kind of like this one behind me. This is a 16-foot garage door. Doesn't have any windows. It's pretty standard, but and we'll show you on the inside, it has a lot of bracing. It's quite durable, and it's going to withstand most any storm we could expect to have in this area. The steel struts on this door show you that it was designed to resist wind pressure. It prevents the door from being blown in or even sucked out in a high wind event. The number of struts vary per model and vary depending on the level of pressure the door was designed for. This particular door is a high wind resistant door. It's designed for our area and exceeds code requirements. If you'll notice, it's got double steel hinges, it's got steel rollers, and this is a very beefy, strong door. There are many different models, different makes, and the wind level design of them varies greatly. And many doors out there don't meet current code. They don't have enough struts. They're not tested properly, and it's something to look out for. And any door you get that's going to be wind resistant is going to have these steel struts, and just be careful. They do go into the garage just a little bit, some more than others. This is the wind load sticker that's attached to the inside of the door. Building code requires manufacturers label their doors and list certain wind load specifications. This particular model is a Wayne Dalton 8000 model, and as you can see, they make this model in many different configurations. This particular door is marked as a wind load specification option code 1124. It lists the design, negative and positive pressures the door is designed to resist. It lists its impact rating as yes, and in fine print are the Florida product approval numbers for this door, and you could look up online the installation requirements and all the specific testing for the door based on those numbers. This little electronic device right here is a garage door sensor. It's required by code on new garage doors. A lot of the old ones don't have them. And there are also some upgraded models that don't have them, that have a sensor built into the door itself that detects resistance. But by and large, you will see these sensors on every modern door, and they connect back to the opener and are a safety mechanism. If an object or something gets in the way, it prevents the door from closing on it. It's got a laser beam or something that's when interrupted, it will tell the opener to reverse. It's a must, it's code required, and highly recommended safety device. This garage door is obviously a very high wind rated door. It's meant to withstand pretty much anything that will could impact here, and it exceeds code requirements. But it does have one pretty major fatal flaw. Manufacturers of garage doors publish installation instructions that are very specific, and most manufacturers require that this piece of lumber beside the door be a 2x6. This one right here, it's a little hard to see because it's covered as a 2x4. Now, manufacturers have revised their engineering, several of them have, to allow 2x4, what we call goalpost. But that's relatively recent, and it comes with some specific requirements of how you attach the goalpost to the house framing. This house here is built in the late 90s, and this garage door is a 2011 model. So it was obviously put here on top of existing goalposts, and that would give you a little confidence that the goalposts are attached per the engineer's requirements. Another thing is, I know this door was not permitted because of these goalposts, and if it had been permitted, the building official would have required that this goalpost be reattached and this track be well attached to the main wall. What would need to happen for this door is that the manufacturer's 2x4 allowances be reviewed and this jamb installed in accordance with those. If it's not installed right, it's not really doing anybody a lot of good. A permit will go a long way to making sure that the installation is correct. Garage doors do require permits, and there are a lot of great doors out there that were installed without a permit and or not to the engineering requirements, and therefore not meeting the wind resistance people think they may be getting. This particular garage door does not require what's called a hurricane bar or a post to meet the wind load requirements of this area. It's beefy enough construction, its hinges are such, and it's been tested in a way that it's just not required to meet the pressures. Some models do have a support post, and these are manufactured aluminum or steel bars that attach to the header, attached to the concrete. They're temporary. You put them into place before a storm. You secure the door to it and ride out the storm. When the storm's over, you take it off and put it back in storage. The negatives with the post bar are that the door is inoperable when the bar is installed. Its main function is to prevent the door from pushing in. Most models have one center post, but there are some that have maybe 2 or 3 multiple posts. They're a good option a lot of times on retrofitting garage doors, but you need to be very careful because not all doors get the needed benefit from them. The post has to be specifically designed. It needs a Florida product approval, and the manufacturers, the fine print with the manufacturer often state which doors and under which situations, and a lot of doors don't qualify, and you may not be getting the wind resistance that you believe you are. Check the fine print on those. They are a good option, but it's better if you can to have a system that's always in place where you're not having to do that extra effort to put the post in. If you see that spring up there, it's a torsion type spring, and it provides tension on the door. Its purpose is to keep the door from slamming shut by basically balancing the door, and that's a safety concern. It also reduces the stress on the opener, allowing for a smaller horsepower opener and less strain when you open it up manually. You probably couldn't open it without that spring, and if you did try to open it manually, it would just simply slam back down. One thing I want to remind you about this spring is it should only be touched by professionals. It holds a lot of tension, and if released improperly, it can be very hazardous. Only someone familiar should use that, should ever touch it, tighten it, or really mess with it at all. What I'm going to do now is remove the arm that holds the electric opener, and that'll let me operate the door manually. And if you see, I can lift the door basically with one hand. If it were not for the spring providing tension, this would be I'd be lifting the full weight of the door. But what I want to show you is that the door must be balanced properly, and one way you can tell is you can lift the door up with one hand, and it should stop about 2 to 3 feet off the cement floor, and that tells us that it's properly balanced. If the torsion spring had too much tension on it, it would pull the door up very rapidly. If it didn't have any or not enough tension, the door would slam down on the ground. Both of those will cause some long-term problems, particularly if it slams down. It's a safety hazard. It also wears the gears out on your electric opener. So it's a good way to check. And again, if one of those is out of balance, call a professional to come tighten or loosen your torsion spring.
This video is from an inspection several months ago, and you notice the spring obviously isn't tight enough as the garage door just slams down.
A few final words about garage doors. These are not do-it-yourself applications. Don't go buy one at Lowe's and install it yourself. Use a licensed contractor that is familiar with installing them. They have very tight tolerances. They're easy to get out of adjustment, alignment, and out of balance. And you will regret it if you attempt this project and you're not familiar with installation. Pull a permit. A permit will put some more eyes on this door, some guys that are familiar with it, and they'll make sure it's installed to meet the wind load that you're expecting it to. One common thing with maintenance, since they don't really require a lot, is they'll start to squeak after a while. You may have heard this one earlier. What normally happens, the husband goes to the garage, gets some WD-40 and sprays everything down. That is ill-advised, and the reason is these type of lubricants attract dirt and grime, and though it may stop the squeaking for the moment, it's for the long term it's going to do damage and wear out the rollers and bearings. Most manufacturers specify a silicone-based spray, and they have periodic maintenance schedules that go with it, and follow those. Read your manufacturer's maintenance requirements and just keep it up. It's not hard. One final thought is that we don't want to use the garage door as your primary means of egress if you are shuttering all your other openings. There's several good reasons for that. One is the wind pressures on the door may make it difficult to open, and remember that the power is probably going to be out. Also, these doors can receive some damage and still protect your home. They're designed to bend and give, but that doesn't mean they may be able to open quickly in case of emergency. Another good reason not to use your garage door as your primary egress is that when you open it, you're exposing your largest opening to the elements, and you could pressurize your house. I appreciate y'all watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My contact information is at the end of this video, or log on to our website and go to our forum and feel free to leave me a question there. Thank you.